What's going on, everybody? So I thought I'd do something a little fun, a little challenge for me. One of the things that I like about the Jedi community is that there's usually a lot of forms of collaboration and things that happen, and there's usually always a project going on somewhere, right? Like some site has someone working on something within the Jedi community. It's really great. It's something I really enjoy because you get to see so many things come out, so many new ideas. And it can really inspire you to work on your own projects and things like that. So one of the things that happened recently was a online chat, which was like Jediism 101, or Jedi 101. I'm not a fan of the isms, but it is what it is, right? And it was just like an introductory thing, from different members of the community, giving their 2 cents on kind of major topics of if you're new to the Jedi Way. So I was like, hey, that's a challenge. I want to see if I can do that. I want to see. Now theirs was like hours long. I'm not going to do that for you, right? And you don't need to, right? They were answering questions, clarifying things. Everybody had presentations on stuff. I'm going to hit the topics Opie style and see if we can't knock it out, see how long it takes me. I'm not going through all of them. All they did have like a little list though, so I'm gonna try to hit that list. I actually have that list like bam, right here. So that's what we're gonna do. That's what I'm gonna do today. That's what today's video is about. I guess it'd be considered an Opie rambling. I'm not really sure what this falls under, but all right, let's get it. Let's get it. Let's start on this thing. So I'm going to go in the order that they had listed. All right. And they just put it up randomly. They didn't like have a order of importance or anything. Oh, and if you do like this or if you were a part of that chat and you like that, stay tuned to like the Jedi channels, wherever you're plugged into the Jedi community at, because there's going to be this really big event online. But it's going to be very kind of like this, but you'll be invited. You can engage, talk, ask questions and things like that. It's going to be a big event in May. A lot of leaders of the Jedi community are putting it together. So as I get information, I will share that. But yeah, it should be good stuff. So, but all right, let's get to it. Let's do this. All right. So the first topic, the Force. What is the Force? I guess would be number one, right? Because the Force is a big part of the Jedi in Star Wars. But the thing I like to remind everybody, right, like before we get into the Force, let's remember one thing: the Force does not define the Jedi, right? In Star Wars, in the fiction, the Sith had the Force. Okay, if you look at Force, robes, lightsabers, there's many Force traditions within Star Wars that have those three things. Some only have two of those things, but still. It's those aren't really defining elements. They're key elements, right? They're symbols of those orders or as things of that nature. But so the Force, the Force is a part of it. So how do we in everyday life associate the Force? Well, for me, I like to go around saying it's ineffable. It's big. It's complex. It's beyond. It's probably not even complex. Complex is not the word. It's just beyond, right? It's beyond me. It's beyond me. We can boil it down into simple terms. We can use words like energy, right? And then however you want to define that. If you're more of the scientific vein, and you want to go the mitochondria route of energy of the cells and things of that nature in the human body, you can do that. If you want to go with the definition of energy as in thermal energy and kinetic energy, you can do that. Certainly those have elements. We see that electricity and things of that nature. We see the power and the use of such energy. There's terms such as energy, like you get energy from food. It's the breaking down process, biological process of turning substance into energy. So, if you want to go the scientific route, if you want to go neurons firing in the brain and all that fun stuff, you can, right? If you want to go the more Eastern philosophy, chi and ki and those kind of ideals, you can go that way. Basically, I saw, there was someone at Jedi Living who had a really great one from I think it was a Druid tradition. I can't even say it because I don't remember off the top of my head. It was really good though. It was like the great song, and it talks about the harmony of life and the flow of life and the energy of life and things like that. It was really beautiful. I can't do it justice. I'm not even, obviously, I'm not going to even try. But it's that way. The Force is for you. Okay, so how do you define the Force? Remember that being part of being a Jedi is spiritual wellness, but we're not going to tell you what that is. That's for you to explore and dig into and ask the big questions and find what works for you. We want, it's about finding the answers that fit you and your experience and your life. And we will give you plenty of things to chew on and plenty of things to question and look at and study and kind of compare things to. But ultimately, that's going to fall onto you for you to decide. So what is the Force? The Force is inevitable. You tell me what the Force is, basically, okay? Don't feel that you have to fit into the Star Wars definition of the Force, okay? You don't have to. If that is your definition of the Force, that's perfectly acceptable. If your definition of the Force is the Holy Spirit, perfectly acceptable. You're going to find Jedi who agree. You're going to find Jedi who disagree. Whatever. The Force is for you. It's your spiritual wellness. And in that, it will manifest itself differently to each Jedi, okay? Because your outlook's going to kind of define and determine how that kind of plays out in your life, what you see, what you're open to, things like that. So the Force does not require your belief. So just to throw that out there, usually a lot of people are like, the Force, you need to believe in the Force to experience the Force. You really don't. You don't. You can, it's kind of like you need to believe you can be at peace before you can be at peace. No, you don't. You just need to go through the practices. And there's plenty of techniques throughout the Jedi community. So if you're interested in studying the Force, kind of like determining what it is, which is one of the 5 goals of the Jedi, by the way, study the Force. You can do that. There's plenty of resources for you to kind of explore and get exercises and techniques to kind of explore what it is and things like that. And it doesn't require belief at all. You'll either experience it according to your own definition or you won't. But it's there. There's something in the world, right? In the universe. But whatever you describe that as is for you. So the Force, boom, moving on, right? See, told you, OP way. Not getting into it, not giving you techniques. I'm not going to sit here and meditate with you yet. I mean, we'll do a different video for that. I'm overdue on that video, by the way. I know. I'm working on it. All right. So next one, what is a Jedi? What is a Jedi? Well, a Jedi is an individual who seeks world betterment through self-betterment, all wrapped up in Star Wars terminology, meaning that, we were inspired by Jedi from Star Wars, and we wanted to be that. And one of the big ideas that kind of came out of that, I'm not really sure where it came out of it from the original trilogy, but service, to others, doing good, like I'm not really sure exactly where that came from. I suppose it's just always attached to the hero, right? That they're doing something to save the galaxy, right? To save the world. So it's kind of seen as doing something for the world. We don't have any grand crusades like that. So it's very much community service oriented and things of that nature, what you can do to help out with pre-existing organizations and things of that nature, wrapped up in the Jedi way and wrapped up in the Jedi philosophy and kind of how we go about it, how we do that in our daily lives. Helping others to help themselves is a big part of it, and that's always been a staple, and it's something that myself and Jedi Joshua used to say, way back since the Jedi United days, back in 2001. That was our thing. Help others to help themselves, and yeah. So Jedi is very much just a person who lives. So if you want to go circular, right? A Jedi is someone who lives by Jedi ideology and applies that philosophy in their everyday lives. It's pretty simple. So if you look at things like the Jedi Circle, what are the 5 practices of the Jedi? You know, meditation, diplomacy, physical fitness, awareness, self-discipline, like basic stuff, right? You have the 5 goals of the Jedi, where you know, train diligently, right, to fulfill your duties as a Jedi, to render aid, to defend those in need, you know, be a voice for the voiceless, provide support. You know, Jedi's not always the leader. They're not always the one to get, gung ho and do that. Sometimes you just need to support people who are in those positions so they can do what they need to get done. But, you know, think of it like a group project, right? You don't always have to be the one leading the group project and pushing it forward. Sometimes just being a good follower is more than enough. Setting that example can help the group gel and kind of work with the dynamics that it has, things of that nature. Getting out of the way for qualified emergency services. You know, if you're first on scene on an accident, you can help out, but then once the EMT and the fire department, things like that arrive, you know, you step back and you support them by giving your eyewitness testimony when they ask for it, you know, so they know what's going on and things like that. Provide support. So there's 5 goals of the Jedi. You can get into 5 tenets, kind of just the Jedi Code: peace, knowledge, serenity, harmony, the Force, you know, that kind of stuff. Oh, and the last effort, we already touched on it, but study the Force was the last of the 5 goals, obviously. But yeah, so anyways, so that's basically a Jedi. I mean, that's it, really. I mean, there's a whole path, right? There's a whole thing that you can look at. You can look at the Jedi Circle. You can look at the Jedi Compass if you want. You know, all that stuff. You can look at these kind of the Jedi Precepts, which most people don't know about. Still love those though. Yeah, you can look at those things. The Jedi Creed, or the what is it? The 21 Maxims of Jediism, I believe. Temple of the Jedi Order still uses. Temple of the Jedi Force, I believe, uses that. So yeah, you can look at those things to kind of get an idea or a definition of what the path is and kind of what is expected of you. But ultimately, what are we talking about? World betterment through self-betterment, wrapped up in Jedi inspiration. So easy peasy. Moving on, the Jedi Code. We did a whole thing on this. It's amazing to me now. It's always interesting. So with the code, most people just kind of win about with misinformation, and it still kind of gets spread sometimes. But I like seeing the difference, because before I started doing Jedi history, people did not have any answers for where the code came from, who wrote it, when it was written, anything like that. In fact, it was mostly misattributed to Kevin J. Anderson. Some Jedi still fight me on this, even though it's in black. Like, it's easy to look up and research. It's in black and white. So Kevin J. Anderson, you know, wrote his books, and he used the Jedi Code within them, not knowing that when the authors, and this goes back to what is it, Dean Allen Foster? Is that right? I think that's right. When he first wrote Splinter of a Mind's Eye, it goes back to kind of that practice where Lucas would give them treaties or notes, you know, his notes on kind of his story and where he was looking to go. And obviously, as we know, that stuff always was changing and kind of going in different directions. And he updated it as he saw fit, you know. But later on, to avoid kind of the fallout that happened with the Splinters of a Mind's Eye, what would happen is when Lucasfilms allowed an author to write a Star Wars novel, they would give them all of the role-playing guides, the tabletop role-playing guides, like everything that they had, you know, the vehicle companion guide, the guide to aliens and planets, the general role-playing guide, you know, all these guides that West End Games at the time had come out with. They would get those. That, you know, Lucas films would just basically give them, like, here's what you can draw on, here's your time frame that you're allowed to write within, you know, here's the notes that kind of like Lucas has and things like that, you know. And what's really great when you get into like things like the New Jedi Order series, which I'm not a fan, but you know, what was really great is they actually pulled all those different authors, went to Skywalker Ranch, along with like people. Even George Lucas sat in on the first few meetings and kind of gave his notes and things like that. But also, you know, people at Lucasfilms, and they all got together and they all fleshed out this really big kind of like story arc that they really wanted to do, and how, you know, which one would handle what, so they would have a cohesive story, even though they had different authors and things like that, which was really great. Anyways, I digressed. So getting back to it, so you didn't really like most people didn't know this stuff, and it's great now because now you see people being like, on page 69 in the role-playing guide, and it's like, I wonder where you got that from. And that's where it was. You know, page 69, the very first edition West End Games Star Wars role-playing guide. I don't know the guy's name off the top of my head. And I don't even think I would be able to pronounce it right. I'm sure I have it, like I could look it up in 2 seconds, but you can do that as a side project. There you go. Anyways, point being, or you can take a Jedi history class at Jedi Living or Real Jedi Knights. Are they Real Jedi Knights or just Jedi Knights? I don't know. Point being, that in 1987, when that came out, the 4-line code came out. There is no emotion, there is peace, there is no ignorance, there is knowledge, there is no passion, there is serenity, there is no death, there is the Force. It's never been confirmed. There is no tangible thing to point to, but most Jedi feel that the Heart Sutra clearly played a part in the inspiration and development, the format of the Jedi Code. If you look at the Heart Sutra, there's lines that very closely resemble that. The format's kind of similar, so you have that. And then of course, when we talked about the Jedi Code, there's a few videos on this channel where we've talked about it. You know, California Jedi L. Christopher Bird, you know, pointed out lines in The Empire Strikes Back that directly correlate with each one of those lines. So it makes sense. It's not, you could say it's fictional, but you know, we are all inspired by the movies, which are fictional. And so a lot of people held on to that fiction because it does have that mantra feel, and it does have that, it encourages reflection and meditation and kind of like digging into it a bit, which is a fun exercise and kind of helps you dig into those, again, 5 tenets of the Jedi, right? Peace, knowledge, serenity, harmony, and the Force. You know? Another version is the Yet version that comes out in 1996, and that basically is born out of the comics, which touch on the Old Republic Jedi, and they kind of gave Jedi Master Udon or Odin, I don't know, to kind of give him backstory as a Jedi historian and researcher, and they attribute him to coming up with there is no format of the code. So they changed the code there, and in the Tales of the Companion role-playing guide that comes out in 1996, also by West End Games, the code gets a change to emotion yet peace, ignorance yet knowledge, passion yet serenity, chaos yet harmony, death yet the Force. A lot of people like that one. You know, a lot of people kind of enjoy that version of the code. You know, it gives you a difference, a little bit more straightforward. You know, doesn't negate or deny anything. Of course, people who are like, oh, it denies stuff, I always feel like they're reading more into it. Like, I mean, the Jedi Code doesn't say a Jedi has no, right? Like, there's a little reading into it there. But anyways, so moving on, trying to keep this, we got actually a pretty longer list. I'm gonna have to start flying. Okay, so next Jedi Code actually gets complete format completely redone. And that's in 1999 after Episode 1 comes out. You know, of course, a lot of the merchandise, as we see, not quite the power. Lucas back then wasn't the powerhouse that Disney merchandising and such marketing team is. But there were still a lot of things, and because it was geared towards younger audiences, You really see that in the merchandising, where a lot of the books and such are very much for younger readers. So you get a book called I Am a Jedi by Qui-Gon Jinn, which was really by Mark, I don't know, Cerny, I don't know. Anyways, it's like 32 pages long. In it, they list the Jedi Code. This Jedi Code is different, probably because it's for a younger audience, and that whole, enlightened wisdom fortune cookie format probably doesn't really work for your younger readers, right? They're not gonna understand mantras and reflection and digging into it. So the Jedi Code is much more direct in 1999. And sometimes it's called like the Jedi Creed, but whatever. 1999 version of Jedi Code is, and I have it here because I don't have this one memorized like off the top of my head. Jedi are guardians of peace in the galaxy. Jedi use their powers to defend and protect, never to attack others. Jedi respect life in all forms. Jedi serve others rather than rule over them for the good of the galaxy. Jedi seek to improve themselves through knowledge and training. It's a very good code, easily adjustable to real life. To make, you can easily make that applicable to everyday life. Very few websites or Jedi organizations actually use this code. Some include it, but it's not really like used a whole bunch. Real Jedi Knights or Jedi Knights, I think, as they're called now, is like, I believe like they're the only website that really has this listed as the Jedi Code, and this is what they teach and use from. But again, they are geared towards a younger audience, so it really works for them. It's good stuff. And then in 2003, BioWare comes out with Knights of the Old Republic, right? Well, in 2002, in the role-playing guides, if we want to stick to the role-playing guides, you see a mixture. They use the 1999 code as well as the old 4-line 1987 version of the code, and kind of mix those together in the role-playing guides, and you get both of those. In 2003, BioWare, in their game Knights of the Old Republic, uses the 1987 format, there is no, with the 1996 version, the 5 lines. So you get the added line, there is no chaos, there is harmony in there. This has kind of become the most used throughout the Jedi community when referred to as the Jedi Code. There's a lot of diversity in the community, right? So you always want to clarify which Jedi Code do you mean, 1997? 1987. Have I been saying 97? 1987, 1996, 1999, or the 2003 version? Like, which Jedi Code do you mean? Yeah, don't call it the Anderson Code. Yeah, so that was pointed out to me. Yeah, I don't. It's a misinterpretation. It's a misnomer. It spreads misinformation. So 1987 version of the Jedi Code. But yeah, so always clarify. Always make sure. But it's good. Make of it what you will. It has served the Jedi well for a very long time, over 20 years. So people can try to dismiss it, but when something works well for people for over 2 decades, it's a pretty good bet that it's pretty solid, even though it's based in fiction. So all right, moving on. Woo-hoo! Light side versus dark side. Nonsense. Okay, that was easy. Moving on. All right, so here's my pet peeve. People labeling things as dark side. The only thing I like there's 2 things I feel you can use the dark side label for. Number 1, ignorance. Willful, purposeful ignorance, turning a blind eye, especially to the self. Like when you don't reflect and you don't look within, and you're ignoring the whys of your actions and motives and all that, and you're just drifting through life. You've placed yourself in the dark. It's a metaphorical darkness, and bad things can happen because of that. 2, willful, malicious, harmful action. yeah, I consider that darkness as well, you know. And these days there's like a lot of justification for actions, you know, like a lot of reasonings behind it as we get to explore and kind of figure out kind of chemicals in the brain and kind of how things work, and as well as psychology and kind of upbringing and how these kind of shape a human being, and how basically you can really jag up someone's world and moral and ethical outlook, all depending on kind of that. But so it's really hard to find really good examples of like true darkness, but they are out there. We do see them in the world, unfortunately. You know, there's a lot of darkness out there where people are willfully, consciously, you know, it's not an issue of, oh, this is making me do this, or, oh, I wasn't aware. It's not even the ignorance, like the darkness of ignorance, right? It's purposeful, willing, knowing exactly what they're doing and still doing it and hurting others anyways, you know, like, yeah, like I'll throw that in the darkness category as well. And that is out there, right? But, you know, the Force doesn't have a light side and a dark side. Nature doesn't have a light side and a dark side. Emotions do not have a light side and a dark side. And it bugs me to no end that people list emotions in the dark side category. Look, you're going to feel anger. Cool deal. Sometimes that is the absolutely perfect and reasonable response. Okay? If some dude comes up and kicks your dog in the face, you're going to be angry. You're going to be upset. And you know what? You're allowed to be. That's okay. That's not dark side. All right? That's not a dark emotion. You're allowed to be angry. You're allowed to feel. You know, there are times where it's perfectly fine to be mad. It's perfectly fine to be sad. It's perfectly fine to be depressed. It's perfectly fine to be happy and joyful, and every single plethora of human emotion that you can possibly imagine. It's okay. It's not dark. It's not bad. It's nothing to be ashamed of, and it's nothing to try to hide from or admonish yourself for. Okay? Anger is not bad. Allowing yourself to react without thought, that's where you start getting into that's not okay, right? Like, that's not okay in the Jedi thing. You don't want to allow yourself to be caught up in the moment. Enjoy the moment, right? Focus on the now. Keep your attention here and now where it belongs, right? But you always have to be mindful of the future. And you don't want to get so caught up in the moment that there is no thought to your actions. Know what you're doing. Don't allow yourself to go into the darkness of ignorance. Don't close your eyes to what you're doing. Don't close your eyes to the reasons of why you're doing what you're doing. Don't close your eyes to your intention, your action, or the outcome. You can't close your eyes there. You can't ignore it. Okay, you can't blind yourself. You can't walk around in darkness like that. You have to be willing to accept it, and you have to illuminate that, right? With the lightness of awareness, of, you know, self-honesty, of knowledge, of information, of understanding, you know, all that stuff. You have to be able to approach it with that kind of idea in mind. So I'm not a fan of the light side versus dark side. I find that's all fictional. That's a made up dichotomy that works really well in Star Wars. It's fun for storytelling. But the real world is much more complex than that, and it just doesn't work that way. And if we start labeling emotions as light side, dark side, that's where we're falling into bad territory, because that's not the case. Anger is not bad. Okay. Allowing it to override you, giving it that kind of power, sure, that's when you start going into a territory of actions you're going to regret. But it's about equanimity. It's about feeling. It's about, yes, I'm angry, but that doesn't mean I have to react. That doesn't mean I have to, you know, do this, do that. You know, it's you feel, and then you acknowledge that feeling. You understand it. You find it back to its source. What is it telling you? What's the information? You build from it. You live life fully but you don't allow your emotions to control your actions. That's just basically what it boils down to. It's pretty easy. So don't think of light side, dark side. Don't even get into that dichotomy. It's not even, it's a road that's not even any fun. I mean, you can go ahead, explore it. There's plenty of Jedi sites and lessons on it, and there's plenty of material out there for you to explore it. That's fine. But no, there's better things you could be doing with your time. But whatever, I'm not here to tell you that. All right, jump into it if you want. I do not go with the whole light side versus dark side, in that sense, right? In the sense that dichotomy exists. And I certainly do not believe light side, dark side emotions. I think that's all nonsense too. Next one, ranks are silly. Forget about them. Jedi, there's your rank. All else, like, look, if anything like knight or higher is all knight, right? Just all it's really saying is a person has experience, they've gone through the training, and they have been recognized by their peers of whatever group they're in that they are capable of teaching another. Done. If anything below knight, we'll lump it all together. They're a Jedi on the path just like you. They have not been yet recognized to teach. Boom, done deal. So Jedi Knight. Rank, easy peasy. Those who can teach, those who cannot. And we're still all on this path together. We're all learning. It's an exchange. Don't think you can't challenge a knight or a master or a grandmaster or a bishop or blah blah bloobity blee. Jedi Ooby Dooby Obi-Wan Kenobi. Like, challenge him. Who cares about his title? Who cares about his rank? If you need to explore something, if you want to find something out, ask questions. Ask questions. It's good for you. It's good for the learning. It's good for the Jedi too. So, yeah, the only rank that matters is Jedi. In the learning process, right? Like, if you're not a Jedi, cool, you can still question, you can still be involved. But yeah, those are the only ranks that really matter. Counselors and guardians and all that. Okay, moving on. Training is there. Pick a site. Eeny, meeny, miny, mo. Pick an organization. They have a training program for you to go in. Wasn't always the case, funny enough. When you get back into Jedi history and you look at it, we didn't always have those, the kind of resources that we have now, which is wonderful. I love it. I love the community these days because you have all that stuff that just works. It's wonderful. So training, dude, just type it in, man. Real Jedi training. You will find like at least five of your first 5 results, man. Go for it. Run with it. See what they got. See what they offer. Explore it. And that's the thing, explore it. Make sure it vibes with you. Question again, don't just accept it, but hey, it's there. Jedi training, real Jedi training. Google, boom, find it. There you go. Titles is ranks. I'm separating them. Jedi, there's your title. Cares about the rest. It's all glass walls, man. Look, if someone says they're a Jedi Guardian, that means that they like the lightsabers and stuff more. Basically, self-defense, martial arts, Jedi Counselor. Well, it depends on the organization. That's why, there's no set things. Jedi Healer is pretty self-explanatory. Someone who cares about healing. Ask questions, see what their qualifications are. Don't just accept titles being thrown around. They're all pretty meaningless outside of if you want someone to go to, ask questions to. Are you a Jedi Knight or higher? Yes. Okay, awesome. There's your title. Who cares? Jedi in training, Jedi Knight. Jedi in training, Jedi Knight. Because after Jedi Knight, you're still training, you're still living the way, you're still a Jedi out there doing it. So, whatever. Who cares about titles and ranks? Forget them. Forget it. I know you may have came to the path looking for, certain titles, but man, trust me, by the time that you are done with your training, you're really, in 3 years, 5 years, you're not gonna care about titles, and you'll probably have collected a lot of them by then. So, types of Jedi, either you're a Jedi or you are not. Okay, glad we covered that. Meditation's important. One of the 5 practices or 5 habits of the Jedi. Make sure you do it. Plenty of ways to do that. Several different techniques. I always like to, you can do it right now. You're watching this on YouTube, go to The Miracle Forest on YouTube. They have a whole list of guided meditations, like 10 minutes. They have a 5-minute one, but really, I mean, pick up one of their 10-minute or 20-minute, guided meditation videos. Give yourself that time, sit back, relax, boom, listen to the meditation, bam, done. Right? Like, there's many ways. Like, if that works for you, then go with that. If it doesn't, if you like visualization, or maybe a walking meditation, or a moving meditation, whatever, there's plenty of resources on meditation for you. It's just about focus. Jedi have plenty of breathing meditations to be done. So yeah, just embrace it. Meditation, easy peasy, get it done. Sword practice, not mandatory. It can be fun. Look, here's the thing: physical fitness, exercise is a Jedi habit, right? So physical fitness is a practice of the Jedi, but that means being physically fit for you. Okay, make sure you know your physical wellness. That's what we want, and you can't go off hurting yourself and doing silly stuff. Using lightsabers, like joining a lightsaber guild, like a club like that, or that's perfectly acceptable way, as long as you are actually getting a workout from that. Yeah, if you're staying active for 60, go out there and go and actually time yourself and go for 60 minutes of sword fight. Yeah, you will be done. You'll be cooked afterwards. So yeah, it can be a great thing. It's not a mandatory thing. You do not have to know how to use a sword. You do not have to know how to use a lightsaber. You don't have to choose that as some sort of self-defense, art. So don't feel like you have to do that. Like, if that's not your thing, then it's not your thing. Don't do that. If you're like, well, I just like playing basketball, so that's your physical fitness, go do that. If sword fighting is your thing, then go do that. I took fencing for a little bit. It's pretty fun. You can do that. I know another Jedi who took it a lot better. She was like really good. That's a great way to go. There's so many different ways though. You can do kendo, and there's just like so many things. But find what works for you. If that's something you want to do, then do it. But it's not mandatory. It's not something you have to do to become a Jedi. It's not part of the Jedi way. It's just one of the many ways that you can fulfill, part of being a Jedi. So do that. Martial arts, kind of same thing. Do learn some kind of self-defense, just because it's important. It really doesn't matter what that is. Again, try to find something for you. Not every, martial arts are very diverse. So you can find a martial art that works for you, no matter who you are, like, it works for your body type and things like that. Do that, go with that. I definitely recommend, if nothing else, pick up a YMCA boxing, like whatever, I just recommend it because, again, it's a great way to, you can fulfill that kind of, staying active, physical well-being portion of it, as well as self-defense. Is just kind of like, it's that thing you never want to use. And as a Jedi, you're given plenty of tools to kind of really make sure you never use it, right? Like diplomacy, conflict resolution, mediation. Like, you're given like peace, patience, tolerance, acceptance, like all these tools to kind of deter physical confrontation into. So like, you should really never use it, but it's definitely one of those things that it's worth knowing. It's worth knowing. And again, I can just it doesn't have to be anything big. A basic like self-defense class is more than acceptable. You don't have to learn, quote unquote, a martial art or anything like that. But yeah, a self-defense. And if you want to include, two birds, one stone, make sword practice that, yeah, like whatever. Like, your lightsaber can count, because I don't care what anybody says. If you've ever been hit with a lightsaber, one of those dueling sabers, full blast with no protective gear on, it hurts, and you can really hurt someone. You can really damage someone with those. So be careful, practice safety if you do go that route. And number two, it can be used as a self-defense weapon for sure. But yeah, so you don't have to, but it's definitely worth knowing, right? So being of service. Part of Jedi, again, render, 5 things like render aid, provide support, defend those in need, be a voice for the voiceless, kind of thing. Community service. That's pretty easy. It's pretty easy to do. It's pretty easy to fulfill. Volunteer at a local animal shelter in your neighborhood, homeless shelter. If there's a park nearby, once a week, go there with a trash bag and pick up all the trash and litter. Walk around your neighborhood and do that. Hold doors open for people. Smile, be courteous, be respectful. Just general stuff. These are, there's plenty of ways that you can kind of just impact your community around you. There's always I imagine if you look it up right now, there's some sort of charity or nonprofit in your community that you can be a part of. So you can do all that. There's many of ways that you can get involved with community service. Volunteer at a library. Not only volunteer, maybe read. A lot of libraries have reading, where you can help kids read, or you can help adults learn to read. So you can be a part of that kind of program. Really, there's so many ways that you can fulfill being kind of extending the Jedi outward, right? Don't overextend yourself, time management and all that, make sure you got you in order first. You don't want to overextend yourself. I know a lot of Jedi, they start the path and they kind of want to help and heal the world and save the world and yay and all that, and that's great. But if you don't have a solid foundation, you're going to burn yourself out, and you're gonna end up worse off, and then you're not going to be able to help anybody. So yeah, don't go the George R. Price way of doing things. Make sure that you're solid and you're taken care of, and you can help those that you can help, and really helping, making an impact in someone's life. Teaching someone to read, that's something that's going to help them throughout their entire lives. Supporting educational things, making sure kids have an educational program and things like that. That's a lifelong impact. So really, animals and animal shelters, dude, just going there and playing with the animals for a little bit makes a world of difference in their lives. So you can impact the life positively right now. Just be careful, time management, don't overextend yourself, be wise about it. But yeah, you can go out there and you can help people, and you can help animals, and you can help, you can be a voice for the voiceless. You can do that. So yeah, absolutely. So yeah, being of service, there it is. Pretty easy. Goes with the 5 goals of the Jedi. Get it done. And the last thing on the list, we're keeping this almost under an hour, is the Jedi Community. And the Jedi Community is basically just a collection of Jedi groups and organizations which exist. That's it. So the Jedi Community really has been around. I mean, some people like to go back to the kind of written fan base, the groups they would have, so when the movie first came out in the 80s, 1977, and throughout the 80s, they had pen pal groups and things like that, and letters that you could send in, and that was how the correspondence went down. And of course there were people who were interested in being Jedi and kind of living that throughout their life then, obviously inspired by Star Wars. But the Jedi Community didn't really come into existence until about 1995. Really, maybe closer to 96, 97, depending on how you want to define, community. But the first building blocks were there in 1995, and that's when the internet, became accessible, and was something that people, especially in America, could really access and kind of start getting into, and people were using that to, and of course no surprise, right, nerd culture and Star Wars fans kind of go hand in hand. So when you talk about the people who knew about computers and how to use them and how to make use of them, and bulletin boards back in the day, and how to access those, and chat rooms and things of that nature, there was plenty of Star Wars fans out there. And so there were sites that kind of built out of that. And by 1997, you did have a collection of sites coming together. And by mid 1998, you had the beginning of the Jedi community as we in 1999 for sure. Like when Episode 1 came out, that's when the Jedi community just blew up. It was just like, whew, you got a lot of people that just rushed, and we haven't really, not even with this new movie that just came out recently, The Force Awakens, we haven't seen like the impact that happened in 1999. It was something else. It was something else. But anyways, so by 1999, by that point, the Jedi community, as people might see it now online, you can see it, like when you look at sites at 1999 and look at sites now, you can kind of see, like, you can draw like the line and you're like, okay, that makes sense. When you look at 1995 or 1997 sites, you're like, we're getting there, right? It's the beginnings of the kind of what the community turns into. And these days, we use online much more as a medium to connect ourselves around the world, and then connect with Jedi who are local. Like, you look at groups like California Jedi or Chicago Jedi, or there's Jedi orders in the Czech Republic, in Russia and Germany, and all over the world, right? There's one in Mexico. I think there's a couple in Brazil. Like, people have come talk to me about those. And if I was like actually intelligent and could learn, was good at picking up anything other than my horrible and bad English, entertaining stuff, great groups to be a part of, great people, so there's great Jedi all around the world that are doing stuff offline and kind of have groups offline that are doing things. And, there's a group out in Pennsylvania, is it? No, wait, is that it? No, Virginia, that's where it is, like the DC area and things like that. There's Jedi down in Florida, there's Jedi down in Texas, there's Jedi all over, that are like offline groups and offline chapters that are doing things and kind of doing stuff. And yet they're all also online and a part of what we call the Jedi community. So it's both. Like, I often refer to the Jedi community and say the online Jedi community, like in history lessons and stuff like that, because we're talking about websites and organizations that were mostly online. These days, you say the Jedi community, and we're talking about the totality of the Jedi community, the offline groups, the online groups, because they're really all kind of the same, and they're all working together, and they all have like the same goal, and which is just to, again, it's all the same goal, right? It's world betterment through self-betterment in Star Wars terminology and in Jedi inspiration, right? It's all wrapped up in Jedi robes. So that's what we're doing, and that's what we're working for, and that's what we're working towards. And that is the Jedi community. This is the Jedi community, it's all tied together. It's all part of it. And it's like a family, you have different people and different personalities, and you're going to vibe with some, and you're not going to get along with others. And that's fine. That's okay. But the Jedi community big. It's big. You can explore it, have fun with it. There's plenty of websites out there. You can go to Jediism.website, and that has a list of different Jedi Facebook groups and different Jedi websites and all that fun stuff that you can get in and explore and be a part of. It's not like a group itself. It's just kind of there for those links. It's kind of just a big link page you can use. So yeah, you can be a part of that and kind of look around the community and see what's there for you. So that is Jediism 101, your first steps into the Jedi community, or whatever. I don't know. I'm kind of tired. But yeah, so there it is. It's pretty easy stuff. It's pretty simple stuff. It seems complex. It seems big. It can seem scary. It can seem daunting. The community can seem really active and coming at you and flying at you. And really what it is just boil it down. Jedi Circle, man, is what I boil it down to. Basically, it's your basic foundation. It gives you a little something to work from and kind of do that. So yeah, I mean, just slow down. Find a place that you enjoy being around, that you enjoy the community, and jump in and start going through the program if you like it. Again, it doesn't require belief. You don't have to believe that the Jedi path is any good for you for it to impact you. One of the things that I do with our stuff, with anything Jedi and things like that, as I put it to the what I call the APBP test. And that's and basically you look at something within the Star Wars, like you take the Jedi Code, right? And then you're saying, is this applicable? Is this practical? Is this beneficial? And will this have a positive outcome or a positive effect? And yeah, that's a approach. Take that APBP test and apply it to Jedi sites, groups. Offline, online, doesn't really matter. Jedi Masters. Make sure that what you're taking in isn't just wasting your time. Value your time. Value yourself. The Jedi path is certainly an investment in yourself. It does require your time and energy and effort. So make sure you're putting it in a place that's that honors that and will give you something back for it, that you can look back. You don't want to be like me, right? You don't want to be like 20 years later being like, oh man, there's a lot of wasted years back there. You wanna be, when you're 20 years, you want to be the wise Jedi on the mountain. You want to be Yoda or Qui-Gon or Mace Windu or whoever, Rey, whoever, Shakti. Yeah, she was pretty much about her business. She's pretty awesome, actually. Anyways, yeah, so you definitely want to be there later on. So make sure your time is invested wisely. Don't waste it on silly YouTube videos like this that are wasting an hour of your time. I don't know. Maybe if this was helpful, then obviously invest wisely. But make sure that it works for you and then it vibes with you, and then go forward from there. And that was fun. That was fun. I had fun doing that. I hit all of them too, so you guys can get out of here. I think I'm gonna close this up. Yeah, that was good. If you have questions, of course, you can hit us up on our various social media links, which will probably be in the description below eventually. Yeah, or hit up the Jedi community. Get out there, have fun, find a site that works for you, dig in, enjoy it, and enjoy your time there. Yeah, and just go out, go be a Jedi, go have fun, go be a Jedi. It's the only title that matters, right? All right, we're done.